Last year in Vienna, in my opening talk, I talked about the importance of openness in this community, the importance of curiosity, because that's the only way to make intersection work. So I like this piece of art. It's beautiful, and it shows beautiful what I experienced in this community, also in this conference. We are an open community, and when I look at you guys, there are so many curious discussions. You are permeable, you are open, you are not narrow-minded, and that's necessary to make intersection happen like this picture shows. But after 11 years of doing intersection, or 12 years of doing intersection, I think it's already part of our culture. So we are super successful in building a community that is open and lives the intersection. We have it at the conference. We've had it in many talks, campfire talks, and it's quite touching to see that this vision starts to begin. What I've also experienced in the last year, I went to 5, 6 conferences, other tribes, from organizational design to user interface design, so some alien disciplines. And I was a bit surprised that they did not get enthusiastic. So I told the same story everywhere, edgy, the facets, we must be open, we must be coherent, we must be holistic in order to create better enterprises, and nobody got mad. They did not scream. Why? How come? Maybe they have different identities. Maybe they have different brands, they all have their logos. And we must be honest enough that still after 12 years, we are such a tiny community compared to others. And on this slide, we have really powerful Boston Consulting, right? 13 billion of revenue. We had 100K last year, so we are really tiny. There's a lot of competition of attention, and what we want to see in the world, the facet, the smooth moving, the beautiful, calming way to do the intersection does not happen outside of this room. It does not happen. What's happening outside of the room is a mess, basically. It's a mess of hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many tools, how many communities, some of them fighting with each other. The commercial companies, Boston Consulting, they have their closed source tools, they battle with the other top 3 companies. They are not really designing stuff. And I think what happens in the world of enterprise design, organizational design, however you call it, is that there is no common platform. There's no common identity. We don't even know how to call a thing. Yesterday we discussed, is it business design? Is it enterprise design? Is it organizational design? Is it business architecture? Is it strategic management? That's what managers say. It's a mess. We don't even have a term for what we are doing. And if we compare this to medicine, maybe, and what has happened is maybe we are at a state where medicine was in the medieval, in the Middle Ages. Maybe we are in ancient times, I don't know, but it's not a mature discipline. So mankind, we know how to treat the body. Medicine has made tremendous progress in the last 100 years, for example. Do we really know how to create better enterprises if we don't even have a term to know who we are? We don't have a logo, for example. And that has led, I think, where we are right now, to a fragmented set of tools. Some of them are helpful. Others are a bit like bloodletting. Who does not know a tool that did way more harm than good? So in the field of IT, that's my domain, I can name a couple that waste billions of dollars wasted, service-oriented architectures, imposing agility on a poor organization. Not the mindset. We all know them. Maybe if you think about it, billions and billions are wasted because we are still in the medieval and we are still doing bloodletting in a certain way. That's kind of frustrating. So what's our answer? As a small community, right? So we are somewhere here. And Boston Consulting, okay, they have similar colors, very different business model. Do we compete with them? How can we make it happen? How can we help people create better, and how can we claim it with a community of 50 people here? Maybe we have 1,000 EDGY downloads and so on, so we're really tiny. What's our way? I want to see it in my life, right? I'm 55 now. Yeah? I want to see this happen in the next 30 years, because then I maybe won't have time. So that's really a tough question, and it bothered me a lot in the last year. Yeah? What can we do in this community, as a tiny community? And tough. Huh? Compete, we could hire thousands of salespersons, people. No, we couldn't afford. We could scream on LinkedIn. We could improve our social media capabilities. I could jump on the table in the nude, maybe, yeah, where people get excited. I don't know, like Microsoft does, for example. Maybe that's not the intersection way. That's not what we want to do. How can we help people create better enterprises if we don't have a platform to do so? Competition might not be our approach. So we must be aware about our strengths. What is it? What is the unique skills, the unique capabilities we have? And I think we have two things. Yeah? We have this openness. We are not for profit. We are independent. We don't have an owner. We don't want venture capital, because then you have dependencies. Then you have somebody who says, hey, I want you to deliver profit, money. Then the whole purpose is gone. The whole source is gone. We had this yesterday. Not our way. So what is our way? We've had some discussions. So today we are launching our way. Yeah, so what is it? What are we going to launch today? Today we are launching EDGY. Okay, that's not new. Today we are launching EDGY as the Wikipedia for enterprise design tools. So what we are going to present in the next 10 or 15 minutes is our approach to use our strength, our energy, to use the energy that is coming back from you guys, people like and friends, and Ariane, and Maria, and the guys from Qualiware. Yeah? You are doing amazing stuff. You are doing stuff we did not see when we created EDGY. It was a multiple purpose tool. And a lot of the energy Milan and I, we put into this movement in the beginning, now comes back. So this feedback loop is already working on an energetic level, right? There's a lot of energy coming from you guys. It was super touching to see this game yesterday, yeah? Because that was the vision 2 years ago when we created the EDGY logo. This was really touching to see and to get the energy back. But what's a structured way to deal with that, right? How can we grow in that way? How can we have a structure, a platform ready that enables these feedback loops, that slowly pumps it up, right? Get energy back, feed it back to the core, add it to the platform and so on. So we must find a way to incorporate all of your ideas and of others later on. And why not do it in the form of a Wikipedia for enterprise design? So I would call EDGY the open source platform for enterprise design tools. That's what we are launching today. And what does it mean? So far, if I'd asked you what EDGY is all about, probably most of you would say it's a language. That's the first step. It took us 3 years to come up with the language. Now it's slim, and it's amazing to see what you guys are doing with this language. So we have the language, elements, and we have the patterns. We started with the pattern book. So the first thing, and we are also about to do it, is we will open source the patterns. We believe the patterns and the language should become as one. You need the language and you need some patterns that explain how to use a language. Maybe, that's always funny, maybe over time we should have more syntax in the language as well. So that's part of the foundations. Currently we're also working on principles. There's more than the language, there's more underneath the surface that unites us. Yeah? There are values, co-creation, beauty. We've been discussing that. We are not finished with the principles. Maybe we'll come up with 5, 6 principles. Co-creation, not autocratic top-down design. That's part of our values. So we will have that ready soon. And together, that makes the foundations. Yeah? And we will take good care of the foundations. We won't have thousands of people open source it and work on the foundations. It must be crisp. It must be sharp. It must be coherent, it must stay beautiful, and that's a challenge. And so we will have only a few people who edit the foundations. You can have a change request, whatever, if you need a new syntax, a new pattern, and so on, that's possible. But a small group of people will take good care of the foundations, because if you mess up the core, then all of the tools fall apart. The vision of coherence falls apart. And then there can be tools, plenty. Yeah, we know there's thousands of them, and I have a huge respect to see how can we be careful and take care that this not becomes a mess. It's not a basket where you dump in your shit, yeah? And there's a lot of shitty tools out there. We won't accept shitty tools, yeah? So if you want to submit something, there will be some quality criteria. And what we have the foundations. So when you submit a tool, and today we already have some tools, it must be connected to foundations, so we have quality controls, and you must use the language. And if you want to use the term value stream, we have process, you must explain it at least, yeah? So that's the strength of the common language. Now, all of those tools are connected to the language, and they have the benefit of the platform. They are connected to the language, and by the language connected to the other tools. The idea is to create some form of coherence between all of those tools that are around over time. So that's the basic idea. And in green, yeah, what we could do, I mean, you know, we are working already on some tools. There will be tools that are created by intersection group. The Milky Way, and today we will already launch our first tool. Milky Way, for example, maps is a big topic ever since in our community. So there will be tools created by our core team, by our core members. We have some good ideas. And yeah, some of them, but they should not be in isolation. Yeah? So the big question will be, how can we make the links between the tools? So we should not end up also with our tools to have a Milky Way there and another map there and a third kind of map there by different members. We must take good care that we get coherence over time. So we need an editing process. We need to make this link happen, and we are working on a lot of stuff already.
Yeah, so I found this tag cloud generator with random fonts. I thought it's a good visual for the kind of state that we are in, where a lot of things are growing out of the community. Yeah, so for example, we have seen something like an EDGY coming up. We have the Milky Way map that we already talk about, well, today actually, this afternoon. We have ideas about maturity models, IT portfolio management, using EDGY to navigate problem spaces and so on. Strategy will be something today. So these are things that we consider candidates for something that could be owned and managed and published by us, by Intersection Group, right? Also means they should be open source, they should be Creative Commons license, and they should be co-created. They should live on our media wiki that we are running, which is, well, should become this Wikipedia at some point. And so why would you publish a tool on our EDGY platform? We put your name. It's already something. You get help. You work together with all the brilliant minds that are here and some that are not. You make it part of this EDGY tool family. It also means that it will be coherent, will use the consistent language, will be linked to the glossary, things are clear, and things fit together. You can shorten the learning curve of people trying to adopt your tool. At some point, we are already doing that a little bit, but given one of the numbers that Wolfgang mentioned before, we can't do it yet really at scale. You can also make money writing for EDGY and for Intersection Group.
And we believe this idea will work quite well for people in this community in the first moment. I'm not confident that Mr. Osterwalder will come to us and say, please, I want to publish business model canvas on your platform. Why? Because his brand is way stronger than ours and we are a startup, so we are not there yet. Yeah? But in the future, what I envision, so think of somebody wearing his best suit, or a group of men wearing their best suits going to the CEO's office and said, okay, I'm McKinsey, and the CEO says, oh, that's a kind of whiskey, huh? But I don't care who you are you on EDGY? So are you tool, is your approach? Maybe in 20 years, let's see. So maybe that's a bit of a large vision. It will be a tough nut to crack, yeah? But we believe the only way to tackle it is by opening it up, providing the platform, providing the identity, providing to bring them in. So what we believe is, what we will see is maybe 10 tools by next year and maybe many more tools over time. So that's the idea.
Yeah, and this is all not happening in a vacuum, right? So we know other things are out there. We have already talked, well, Wolfgang has engaged quite successfully with the DDD folks, the domain-driven designers. We have a mapping to Archimate. We have been talking yesterday about the VSM. We look into jobs to be done versus tasks. Why do we not call them jobs? Sometimes it's quite confusing for people coming more from the organization design, what is called a job and what isn't. So we have a different term, but we know why and we know how to connect these things. So over time, we would like to see these bridges appear. So that we have our tools that are green and that are on the foundations, and then we have other things around us that are white in this case because they are not ours, but we know how to combine them, we know how to use EDGY and how to bring some value using EDGY in an environment and in a context where they are using, for example, this one that is in many, many companies. Not everyone is happy about that, but you know, it's the fact. So how do we use EDGY with safe? How do you use EDGY safely? How do we combine it with BPMN? We had that actually in a case that we will see from Go later today. How do we connect it to C4? And you see, this is a little bit the geeky corner, no? Maybe go a little bit on to the right. OKR, already a little bit less. 5 forces, jobs to be done, I just mentioned. Personas, they're still around. People are making personas. EDGY doesn't have personas, but maybe there's a way to connect it. You can talk about journeys, we can talk about tasks. And more and more of these tools and how to use them together, because that's what EDGY is supposed to do. It should help making these things not only compatible, but aligning them so that when people use them together, they don't work against each other, but with each other.
Maybe that's a strategy against this effect that most people perceive EDGY as a bit up and elitist. Yeah? If I'm working in a frustrating IT project and I'm using C4 and maybe Archimate or some software modeling, Scrum and so on, and I don't have a purposeful project, all of the product owners are not aligned, so I'm in a mess. All IT projects I know are a mess, and now somebody comes and says, yeah, we must do EDGY. Maybe the distance between our vision and the sad reality is too big. And the idea is to have tools ready that take people from where they are. So we call them bridges, like a bridge to C4, if you know. It's a modeling language for software architects. So if you answer to those poor people working on the reality of frustrating projects, how you make an impact, how you can change tomorrow your situations, your personal situation with your tools, not with some high-level EDGY. Yeah? And that's a bit of a change in our strategy. Yeah? We want to see more bridges. We call them bridges. We will never create all the tools of our own. That way we would create the next silo. That's not the idea. So let's create bridges together. Yeah? And the good thing, and we want to make this platform work. We're a bit running out of time, so we could discuss it at the booth if you want. So we want to have EDGY and Intersection Group ready as a multi-sided platforms where we have people creating stuff, the bottom sign. Yeah. In the beginning, it will be volunteers, but over time we want to pay contributors to make this feedback loop also fueled by some money. Yeah. That's the idea. So we have contributors, and on the other side we have consumers, enterprises, and so on. And we already have a product catalog. So Milan was working on it. If you want to know more about the offerings we now have, they are not even on our webpage yet, but there will be offerings for enterprises to make some money to fuel it and so on. So there are some new offerings coming. And the exciting thing is that today we are not only talking about theoretical stuff, we already done it already. So the first tool that we created according to a publication process, a structured publication process, and you can learn about the process also at the booth, is the enterprise design scan. Yeah? So Helgi, yeah, he's the author, he was brave enough to be the prototype and the first person to create a tool according to the process. And for us, it was important today that we deliver something, and you should all have a booklet already with the tool. Yeah, maybe you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. It's basically, it's half past. So Wolfgang said, yeah, you need 10 minutes. You don't think you need 10 minutes? Oh, you're going to get 10 minutes. And so it's a question, do you want to get a little short introduction to the scan just before we go to lunch or take a coffee break? So we'll take 5 minutes. Is okay? Should I talk more into the mic? I'm not used to this. Usually when I talk, I have a wireless speaker thingy. Let's see if I can find mine. Okay. So this is a really, really interesting day for me, actually. This has been a little bit of a brainchild for, what, 3 or 4 years now? So it's been a long birth, but so finally it's there. But what we've been talking about is very much, and what I'm hearing very much from the community is that EDGY is awesome. How do I apply it? What do I do? How do I use it in practice? And one of the things that I really had in mind when I started is that how can I apply it in practice without it being obvious, that without having to have to introduce the platform to everyone I'm working with? Can I hide it a little bit in the background, but still use all the essence of what EDGY brings to the table? And that is very much something that I think we have actually succeeded with. And I want to be really clear. I'm saying that I'm an author of this. Yes, I led the work, but there's a lot of people that's been involved in this, and I get giving great feedback. So this has been iterative work that has been done with the whole community. So there's a lot of people from the community that's been involved. But a little bit about EDGY. So EDGY is basically, it's a simple tool to improve understanding and alignment about an enterprise design challenge. So it is intended to be applied to a specific challenge that we define. It's 2 basic things. The primary thing is just a questionnaire. It's not that complicated. It's just a bunch of questions. And it's really up to you how you apply them. But we do have provided you with the questionnaire. A little information. So there are several sites that are live right now. So if you go to enterprise.design, there's a new tab now called Tools, and under there you find this information. There's information about how to use EDGY. So practical information about how you can apply it. Of course, there is not necessary. You don't have to follow this. If you want to use it in a different way, no problem. If that works, please come back to me and tell me about it, because I would love to hear about it. But here is something to get you started. So this is an idea how you can go about it. There's also a story. So an example of someone that went through the scan and what were the findings, and how did it work for them? How did they go through the workshop? And even how did they, an example of how they documented the results. So that anything to help you get started with this. Again, this is a story, this is not the story. There is no the story. There's going to be so many stories, it's so different how you can apply this in what scenario. So please just, if you're successful, again, please come back to me so that I can take that information also and create more stories, or make it available to everybody else so we can help each other out. In the download section, we have several things. First of all, of course, it's a questionnaire. It's a simple Excel document. And just questions, three answers, really basic. Is there a common understanding? And then a sentence. And then it's just yes, partly, or no. You don't have to have more context than that. You don't have to think about it. You should not have to think about it too much. And the value is not really in answering the questions. It's in the contemplations we have around the questions. So if you do this by yourself, for example, if I said yes, partly, yes, why? That's the question. That's the value. Why did I answer yes? What do I mean? Is it documented? Can I communicate it to others? Is it something that's available to others to consume without talking to me? Will they understand it in the same way I do? These are the questions that come up when you answer this. To follow on that, if we do it in a group, we have our template. So you can access the template where you can move the answers into, and it will look something like this. So this is, for example, a group of 6 people that have answered. And then you have a completely different scenario. We can start, in hopefully a safe space, discussing how do we, well, why are we misaligned? Ernestine, why did you say partly? Everybody else says yes. And these are discussions, these are communications that is really difficult for us to take up unless we have a tool like that we have like, we have actually answered in advance without knowing. So this, my proposal is basically, for most cases, to do this individually. So each individual answers that without the others being around. Because it opens us, it requires us to answer honestly. That's pretty much what we're gonna go into today. This is our first tool. Like the guy said, and one of the things we're going to be introducing today afternoon is the Milky Way, which is hopefully one of the next tools. We're also working on a maturity model, and then several other things like a compass for how to use maps. So there's a lot of things coming, but I will be in the workshop where we will go deeper into this and try how do we actually apply it, discuss what are the use cases for this. And in the afternoon, we'll be digging into a Milky Way. So there are 2 tools on the table at the moment that we will be discussing today. If you're interested in that, we will be in the workshop room. And if there's anyone that is intimidated about going over to finding the other place, the other house, because it's a different building, then we will meet up in the lobby and walk there together. So about 2 minutes before we actually start, then join us and we walk together over there.